From my understanding, the excitement around the newly released indie title Adventures of Pip has been pretty outstanding. What began on Kickstarter with a goal of $40,000 quickly became a huge success, exceeding that goal by about $26,000. Sure, it's not ukulele levels of success, but it's still success nonetheless. I personally had no clue what this game was, nor did I notice that its campaign was going on about a year ago. So when I was approached with a review copy asking me if I would take a look at the game, I was both surprised and excited. As you may or may not know, I love going into a game I know nothing about. It makes the overall experience better, in my opinion. There's mystery, and every time the game throws something new at you, it feels unique and genuinely exciting. And I'm happy to say, Adventures of Pip does this extremely well. Each level is filled to the brim with charm and new gameplay elements, so I never got bored during my 6-hour romp through the world of the kingdom. Yeah, that's the actual name of this overworld. It's not a kingdom, it's the kingdom. You know, with a capital K. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We still have yet to discuss the exhilarating and heartbreaking story. Like it says in its description, this game takes inspiration from other retro games like Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario Bros. So the plot isn't necessarily Final Fantasy VII levels of complex. That being said, it does have some twists and turns, specifically near the end, and it's sort of just there to give your adventure purpose. You see, an evil queen kidnaps a princess that has the power to control a life force called the Bitstream, so the queen can use it for her own selfish desires. She wreaks havoc across the kingdom, turning the once detailed villagers into bland pixels and low-quality sprite work. This level of treachery in and of itself is quite hilarious. She's turning already pixelated people into slightly more pixelated people. There's just something about that appeals to me and kind of breaks the fourth wall. Adventures of Pip's story certainly doesn't take itself too seriously. It's lighthearted and the writing is actually humorous and really well done. And unlike generic platformers, characters have some distinct personality to them, especially the various ghosts you encounter while exploring. Characters like Sir Elwyn or even the Skeleton Queen herself cause the plot to be more enjoyable and encourage me to read the dialogue boxes and not just skim over a lot of them. And for those who prefer a less story-driven experience, you can always skip through them with ease. In addition, like many other games, where Adventures of Pip really shines is in the gameplay department. It may appear as a typical retro-inspired platformer, but there's so much more to it here. This title is a prime example as to why you shouldn't judge a book or a game by its cover. See, the big element that sets Adventures of Pip aside from other platformers is the ability to change generations with a push of a button. Yeah, that doesn't really make sense now, does it? Well, that's what I thought when I first got to use this mechanic, but it's relatively simple when you break it down. In the beginning of the game, you play as Pip when he's just a singular pixel. Like his design, his gameplay style is really primitive. He can jog, jump, sort of glide, and that's about it. Usually the game likes to use this generation whenever there's a short passageway you need to go through or a long gap you need to glide across, so he never becomes underused. Then as you progress further into the world, you get to evolve into the next generation of Pip. This new and improved Pip can punch, kick, jump up walls, and has a simple yet clean sprite design. But switching from these two generations is not as easy as you would think. Each time you want to evolve, you have to kill these blue, gas-like enemies that will instantaneously advance you to the next generation. This makes for some really fascinating level design. For example, sometimes you have to devolve, which you can do by holding A in mid-air, glide a bit, land on top of a blue enemy that causes evolution, and try to wall jump to get to a safe area. This mechanic is not only something I've never seen done before, but it also makes platforming engaging and fun. Not to mention the abundance of new generational upgrades you receive upon progressing further, which only add to this brilliant level structure. At one point, you get an upgrade where you're a really detailed sprite of Pip with a sword and you're really slow and heavy. You can't jump far, up walls, or do anything in the way of platforming, so you usually just push blocks, solve simplistic puzzles, or beat up enemies. This, once again, allows for more interesting stages that make use of all these iterations of Pip at pretty much all times. Level variety is something this game does really well. Every stage feels polished and different from the others. Even with levels being part of the same world, they never felt too similar to me. There was at least one new aspect in every level, whether that be a small addition of an enemy or some entirely new platforming feature. Sure, these levels are linear, but that doesn't make the platforming feel bland or repetitive. The mechanics and variety prevent any moment from becoming monotonous. Plus, there are some branching pathways if you want to explore that lead to stranded villagers. See, there are at least 3 lost villagers in each level, and it's your optional job to find them. I really wasn't encouraged to explore or find these villagers because I couldn't see any reward I was getting by rescuing them all in a stage. There wasn't a benefit to exploring as far as I could see, but hey, it's there to add some replayability for completionists at least. My only real gripes stem from some technical problems here and there. For one thing, it seems to me like the game chugs every time I jump as 2nd and 3rd generation Pip. It might be unnoticeable to the common person out there, but being someone who looks at the frame rate constantly when editing, it kind of stuck out to me while I was playing. Additionally, whenever you move from screen to screen, the frame rate once again begins to dip. It's certainly not a smooth transition either, and I would have preferred some fade effect or something as opposed to no transition at all. But other than that, the gameplay is great and enjoyable, and the boss fights are pretty unique. Each fight feels exhilarating and actually challenging. They always try to employ usages of other generations, and it flows together extremely well. Also, something worth mentioning here is the currency you collect throughout the game. These pixelated squares are called pixels and can be used to buy things like upgrades and power-ups in the castle hub. The only thing is, I never really used any of these upgrades during my playthrough because Adventures of Pip is fairly easy. I mean, I died a lot of times, but those were mostly only because I tried to do something fancy or explore a certain area more extensively. Another field in which this game excels in is its presentation. Although a lot of backgrounds get reused, I never really minded them. They're detailed and look great as far as I can tell, and the character and enemy sprite work is spectacular. The art style here may just be one of my favorite new sprite-based art styles in a long time. The only problem I have with this presentation is sometimes the world themes can overstay their welcome and feel overdone. And the same can be said for the music, which while decent, does get repetitive. With only one theme per world, it does get somewhat drab. That being said, the soundtrack is really atmospheric and high quality. Some songs are quite catchy too, like the Castle Hub and Skeleton Queen's theme. But all in all, Adventures of Pip is a good game. It has one of the most unique platforming styles I've seen and played in quite a long time. Not to mention the level design is brilliantly crafted, making every single level varied and entertaining. And although the story is not compelling, I still found characters to be interesting and dynamic. The whole world of this title is great, and navigating it is intuitive and simplistic. Despite some technical problems, the gameplay is solid, but it's nothing mind-blowing. I mean, it's good, but it's not amazing. For a $15 game, I would say I got my money's worth out of Adventures of Pip. It's all personal preference, but in my opinion, it's worth the complete price of $15. I mean, it's not a must-buy, so if you are interested and don't want to spend $15, wait for a sale. If I had to give Adventures of Pip a score, I would award it an 8 out of 10. But remember, if you disagree or agree with me, let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this review, consider subscribing to never miss out on any new content. And as always, thank you so much for watching and take care. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.